señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hasta dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Deaf poetry is you not a fucking revolutionary. You just another motherfucker who loves to hear him, her, themselves talk. You know what? Walk with that bullshit, that public masturbation disguised as a plan to save us mind-fuck niggas who don't give a fuck about a person, place, or thing. How the fuck you figure all that red, black, and green? Peace queen, peace king, free Mumia, massa please, emasculating, self-absorbed dreamers, pro-black extremists, cow dung flung so eloquently is gonna save this people. So nymphotically fucked by the back of the bus that black power nut now stains your cerebrum. Revolution is war, not romance, and war is an art, not a slow dance, but a skill which requires techniques, blueprints, and plans, not some bullshit debate as to whether I under or overstand. Nigga please, revolution is war, that infectious sore which spreads for lack of cure, till freedom is no more, just beyond that door. Yet revolution is more, revolution is knowing when to deploy, Oprah Winfrey as opposed to Asada Shakur, when to retire that kente cloth for a fitted cap and a throwback instead, when to send Jay-Z as opposed to Dead Prez, appearing to be weak, yet uniformly omnipotent. This is not me talking, this is revolution I'm quoting. Revolution is asymmetrical, the war art of contradiction. Revolution is yes a massa, while poisoning everything in the kitchen. Revolution is what's missing in your black power dimension of that nigga selling out because he make gangster rap songs about cracks and that confusion. But as long as 33% of the proceeds go to the Council of Independent Black Institutions, brother, keep doing what the fuck you doing. And this is revolution. And I am a revolutionary. And this is the Revolutionary Black Leadership Society. And we beseech you niggas to lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. Peace.
I see you got about 18 tracks up on here, which look like they're gonna cover a whole
Yeah, modern day African, running from the system, running from his wisdom, cursed from the get-go. Silver spoons won't appear like presto. That's why we trying to overthrow New England like Bledsoe. The Super Bowl should be filled with good nutrients, vitamins, minerals, something for the people. Seen the Almighty and he don't look regal. Yes, I pass cross, but he don't do steeples. But then I asked him, what's up with my blackness? Why do my endeavors always end up tragic? He said the shot home ain't straight, it's jagged, and the road ain't clear, there's a whole lot of traffic. Maggots eat flesh, the devil eats souls. No bread for last suppers, they never eat rolls. That's why we sing the color of the sky. The struggle is a journey, don't ask why. Ain't nothing new. Tallahassee got that. It ain't nothing new. Chi-Town got that. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, ATL got that. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. Yeah, raindrops fall on the sharecropper's roof. Cadence of the poor, holes in the floor. Fear breathes life through the nose of the boar. The fruit that Eve picked must be rotten to the core. Descendants of Ham, ready for the jam. On a juke joint Saturday night, hit a slam of dominoes. As killers cuff killer hands, as the DJ sweats out your worries, just dance. To the blues, original Jews. It was written in the text, we got nothing to prove. And now they keep our eyes glued to a box for the snooze and a sly Fox News. I need not mention this hue, you already know, it already shows. I love this skin, but it's like heavy clothes. Blue light special for the afros, giving you that. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, Boston got that. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. Yeah, New York got that. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. Yeah, LA got that. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. Yeah. When the world don't love you like a stepchild, and they trying to make you get the F out. God hear you, but you gotta get yourself out. Look up in the mirror for a God, that's the best route. The stained glass will put a chain in your ass. Liquefy your thoughts, pour your brain in a glass. Sip it like scotch in a $1 million pass. Papa got a brand new $1 million bag, and it's full of evil plots and schemes. To get up out this tank, that's the lobster dream. They say you need Jesus, but who got the green? That's the question of the century, who got the sheen? For the Afro blues, tap dance shoes. For niggas in showbiz who too damn cool to ever make a move and let they intellect duel with the powers that be. 40 acres and a mule. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, Miami got that. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, Kingston got that. Yeah, it ain't nothing new. Yeah, London got that. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, Port-au-Prince got that. It ain't nothing new. Yo, Cairo got that. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, Libya got that. It ain't nothing new. Yo, South Africa.
The story the political world has been buzzing about.
Speaking to a mostly white crowd in Michigan Friday, Trump urged African Americans,
what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed.
I moved on her like a bitch.
You can do anything.
Whatever you want. Grab him by the I can do anything.
You rollin' like Trump, you get your beat lump. DJ Hello, Donald Trump. You rollin' like Trump, you get your beat lump. Yeah, Donald Trump. You rollin' like Trump, you get your beat lump. Donald Trump. You rollin' like Trump, you get your beat lump. Donald Trump.
The Nazis didn't lose, they adapted. Plus Hitler was financed by American capitalists, anti-Semites and white nationalists. Hire Steve Bannon as the campaign strategist. Identify the activists, label them extreme. Tell them Rosa hit the road, get that bed winch off the team. It's about the green and giving it to the rich. Robert Mueller puts the pressure, trying to find a snitch. It's like Rockefellers, turn Carter's page. Back to the Nixon era, you know Watergate. Now we in like Flynn, hold down the Manafort. He tried to ban Muslims, thank God for higher courts. Dude is just evil, taxes unbelievable, and we never got to see it's like them shits is unretrievable. Is it even feasible when everything is just for views? He can release his own taxes, then tweet his fake news. His name is Donald, and Fred ain't raised no wussy. He ain't no Billy D, so he just grabs him by the pussy. As for allegation, there's 16 open cases. Since before Central Park 5, we knew he was racist and sexist. The clown is reckless. The fool is at the button playing with a death wish. What are we left with? A wall or a fence? A lot of pride before the fall. Hope we don't get stuck with Mike Pence. My name ain't Paul. That shit is up to y'all. I'm on live for Black Panther, reading the final call.
You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump. Don't Trump. You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump. Don't Trump. That's right. You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump. Don't Trump. You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump.
Yeah, Trump is a disgrace. I mean, how many lies is gonna take? How much time is he gonna make? False statements for each side. We gonna place his ass behind bars for buying the whole race, and y'all just gonna waste taxpayers' money. For real? Why he tweeting and beefing with other countries? We still hungry. Schools getting shut up. He too weak to do anything about it. He truly has divided the whole nation. Blacks even in jail or probation. We all facing a worse administration. Where they say and condone discrimination. We all get impatient. Trump gotta go. So let's impeach him or vote him out the door. One thing's for sure. If you voted for Trump, then you deserve to get your meat lump.
You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump. Don't Trump. You roll like Trump, you get your beat lump. Don't Trump. You roll. Don't Trump.
Dump Trump. Dump Trump. Dump Trump. Dump Trump. Dump Trump.
What's happening, good people? We are live and direct. This is RSTV. Excuse me. It's the Rise Up Morning Show. That's what we are today. Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. 1 2 1 2. Hopefully y'all can hear me nice and clear. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. We are live and direct. We have a whole lot coming on. We got a few guests. We know you all excited. I'm gonna start off. I got a special guest co-host. I ain't gonna waste no time. I'm gonna get right to it and bring him on board. He is no stranger to the platform. So you wanted to start this thing off right. Anyway, special guest co-host Dhoruba Ben Wahad. How you doing, sir? I think you're on mute right now.
Good morning, black man. Peace.
Peace. How you doing?
I just woke up. I didn't see anything yet. So I guess they selected who they wanted. This electoral college system that everyone claims is democracy finally spoke. Do you know what the final disposition is? What the tally was?
Well,
who won the popular vote?
Well, according to the joints, we're gonna pull this thing up real quick. But while we do, of course, there's no surprises or whatever. Trump won the popular vote. It was a little over 71 million. He got the 277, of course, for the electoral college. Kamala got a little over 66 million, which was, they said, 47.5%. according to the polls, and she got 224 on the electoral college piece. We've been talking about this for feel like a century. Mm-hmm. You got this cat who was impeached twice, a convicted felon. You know what I mean? So many different directions we can go in. We're not tripping. We already know. We know the play. Still again, he's back in office, back like he never left.
Like herpes, he's back. Y'all want to fuck around and find out now, right?
Hey, what we talking about? Let's hear, man. This is we no holds barred today. Hopefully, we won't get banned because of the fact that Dhoruba getting it started already. The best part of waking up is Dhoruba in your cup.
No, man. Yeah. Listen, man. I gotta laugh to keep from crying, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
This is pathetic, man. But you got to understand something, and I think whatever side we on, those who thought that voting for Kamala Harris would, you know, at least keep their pensions coming and their social security coming, and you know, and things that so they figured they could hold their nose and they could vote for her because she wouldn't cut social security. She wouldn't do those things that the orange man said he was going. He promised to do. You know, I know they're feeling some way this morning. I would, you know, I express my condolences to them, but let's be real. America gets the leadership it deserves. This white supremacist construct gets the leadership that it's qualified for. People think that being American is a nationality, is denotes nationality. It doesn't. It denotes the delusional state of mind. It's a condition. It's not nationality. It's a condition. And America has been the bane of humanity ever since it ascended to world hegemonic power. It's been the major driving force behind global division, racism, imperialism, white supremacy, and you name it. It's in America has been behind it. It's been the driving force sustaining it.
So
and
real quick.
So they get the leadership we deserve, and sadly, you know, this is the beginning of the end for this empire. And I think that we should buckle up, you know, get whatever credentials we need, arm ourselves or harm ourselves. We need to be prepared to fight for our survival, to organize for our survival, and to send a message to these crackers and to these white supremacists that voted this dog into office that we will not be bullied, we will not be cowed, and we will not be beaten down and murdered without consequences.
No doubt. You know, listen, and you know, for starts, because we're gonna get it in, and we have another guest that'll be joining us. For folks who are new to the platform, this is Black Power Media Reloaded. Black Power Media Reloaded. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. We have a new time, folks are wondering, because we ain't even announced it. We have a new time, 7 a.m. Eastern. 7 a.m. Eastern is the time we rocking now, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. A lot of folks are talking about how they got to go to work and they got to wait a whole hour. Yo, we good now. So 7 a.m. My guest host today, I'm gonna say guest host because you've been a guest so many goddamn times. So you now a guest host. You now elevated and went beyond that. You are officially. We just drafted you. We don't even care no more. We ain't even asking you. You are officially a correspondent for Black Power Media Reloaded. Now listen. One of the things that you just said that I appreciate, because of the fact that what's about to happen, and we know this, social media is about to go crazy. Black folks about to lose their mind. You know what I'm saying? Indigenous people about to lose their mind because they're going to feel hopeless. And the thing that I appreciate is it's not an attack. If you voted for Kamala Harris and you said, listen, you know, anything's better than nothing, we ain't even going to go there. You know what I'm saying? Anything's better than Trump, whatever. We're not even going to go there because we understand that this is the empire and this is what the empire does. We're not about to get caught up in the back and forth. We're not about to start beefing with our people. We're not going to fan the flames of who voted for who and all that type shit, because that's the sidetracking of the slave. Right now, where we are, because of the fact that regardless if you voted for Trump or you voted for Cornel West or Ronald McDonald, it don't make a damn difference at this particular point. Right now, we're facing white supremacy in the best way, because of the fact, to be honest with you, Trump is a reminder of what white America is. He's a reminder of what Europe is. He's a reminder of what a settler colonial state is. You know what I mean? And we have to embrace this now. As Dhoruba said, now buckle up. You got to buckle up, knuckle up, or bow down. So these are the choices we have. You said a few things, man. You talked about, you know, arm ourselves or harm ourselves. You know what I'm saying? You talked about getting organized. Now, I know that you was organizing before I even stepped on the scene. You know what I mean? We've been organizing together for a couple decades. You know what I mean? So the thing is, what does that look like and what does that mean? Because of the fact that I think that, you know, as the old commercial used to go, now that we have your attention, where do we go from here?
Well, you know, like Like the song says, now that we found love, what we gonna do with it, right? So now I guess it's time for us to start loving each other, right? It's time for us to start organizing with each other, with people across the aisle that we thought had politics that was a little bit sketchy. Now it's time to understand that we all in the same boat, and we all have to organize, and we have to organize a political force in this country that our voice will be heard, despite the electoral college, despite the democratic fascist system that's been established, and despite the corporate politics behind the corporate money behind war and right wing fascism. We have to organize. I'm looking forward to participating in this process as best I can. Last night, surprisingly, I told you I went to I was invited to show up at a program and here in Brooklyn, and it was a program that was put on by a group of basically white direct action activists, left activists, and I was blown away when I showed up. Took me half an hour to get there, and it was still in Brooklyn. And when I got there, it was in a deserted place where trucks load. I don't know what area, but when I turned the corner, there was this venue that was packed. I mean, literally packed. And some organization was serving free food. It was an organization that feeds the poor and the homeless here in Brooklyn. I'm not familiar with their name, and I want to give them a shout out. But I don't recall their name. This was totally unexpected, and this was a panel discussion that basically said "F the vote." And so when I went inside, the place was packed. There was over 100. It was over 100 young people, mainly white young folks. And when I say young, I mean young, like 21, 22. And I didn't expect to participate. I wanted to listen, and but I did speak. And I'm reason why I'm mentioning this is because there's a whole generation of young people in the streets right now. Some of these people that convene this particular event are scheduled to report to prison tomorrow, to jail. I mean next week, because they threw red paint all over arms manufacturing plant. They took over an arm manufacturing plant, and of course, if they were black, they would have been dead by now. But they were taken into custody. They were given a slap on the wrist, basically a 2-month sentence. But I was impressed by the enthusiasm of these young people, and this is why I'm bringing this up. You know, I know this may look like a dark hour for progressive people. I know for women, for black women especially. I know people are going to point fingers at brothers and say, well, you know, you're the ones that caused this. They might even point fingers at the third party candidates and say they took away votes. But the fact of the matter is that the duopoly political system was never meant to represent our interests, was never created to empower marginalized communities, especially black people, and that we need to take this seeming setback into account and organize our own political party, organize our own political force. And we should begin that process. It's going to be a process. It's going to take maybe 2 years. And so, but by the off election year in 2 years, we should have a united front that consists of labor, radical labor, that consists of women and men who want radical change or abolition of the current duopoly political system. So let's begin now. Now is the time to begin. And as the poem goes by, as the poem's second sermon on the warp land goes, what will our season be, which starts from fear? Live and go out, have your blooming in the noise and whip of the whirlwind. Whirlwind is upon us. Now it's time for us to organize. Now it's time for us to get real and get serious, to begin on the local level, to throw out these chumps and these Negroes on the local level who have acted as proxies for law enforcement, who have acted as proxies for the white supremacist, neoconservative, and neoliberal factions that have impeded our progress, that has impeded our ability to sustain ourselves. Now is the time to organize. So let's not be fearful. Let's not be afraid. It is what it is, and we have to build a power base. And let's begin that with an anti-fascist united front. And let's aim this arrow of discontent and disappointment. Aim this arrow at the heart of the empire. And reach out to our comrades and brothers and sisters who will be affected by this election just as we are in the coming months. So we shouldn't mourn. We have to organize. We shouldn't get mad. We need to get even. And like I said, if we don't arm ourselves to defend ourselves against the MAGA forces and the ethno-Christian nationalists who are violent, who have a handle now on state power and state violence, then we are fools. We deserve whatever happens to us. So I'm ready. I've been ready if I don't get to go. And so that's my message. I mean, that's all I can say right now. We can go over the particulars. We can go over the different statements and comments from those who were involved in this electoral process, in this losing endeavor. But we can't get away from the fact that neither one of these political parties ever had our interests at heart, and that the real nature of America came out. The real nature of white supremacy. Many of these people who were talking progressive stuff, when they got into the voting booths, they pulled that lever. Right. A lot of white women who talked that white women's liberation, would talk about white feminism, who talked about, the abortion, the anti-abortion, the rise of the anti-abortion forces in the Supreme Court. They talked all that stuff. Many of these white women voted for this guy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won. So let's not get this stuff twisted. We have no friends in America. We only have enemies. Our only friends are ourselves. We have to organize, and we have to organize militantly, and we have to take the heat to the enemy. We can't allow them to bring the heat to us. We got to take it to them.
It's been so much that is taking place, and I think so many people, and I appreciate what you're saying. And for folks who are in the chat, you're listening to Dhoruba Ben Wahad, veteran Panther, veteran BLA, freedom fighter, Pan-Africanist, and one of our go-to OGs. I want to say, because you said a lot and it's coherent, and there's going to be people. The thing that I appreciate, you said, okay, there's going to be people that blame it on. It's going to be the blame game. Okay, it's Cornell's fault. It's Jill Stein's fault. If they weren't running, whatever, so on and so forth. The fact is, last I checked, Jill might have had like 0.5%. You know what I'm saying? And none of the electoral votes, of course, we know that, right? I understand that in many places, Cornell and Claudia De La Cruz, all of these folks who've been on our platform, they were disqualified. You know what I mean? So no one took anything. So don't get it twisted. You can't, because if you gave them that 0.5%, if you gave that to Kamala, it wouldn't make a difference. You know what I mean? So instead of playing the blame game, the reality is we must get organized. You can't vote yourself out of white supremacy.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't vote yourself out of this ass whooping. You can plead with them. You can hope, all that. And I know that people are devastated right now. And that's why, like I said, you're not going to find us talking about, see, I told y'all, nobody got time for that shit. The reality is we are where we are right now. You know what I'm saying? If you find yourself in a gunfight, you ain't going to be like, see, if we didn't come here in the middle of the damn gunfight, no, motherfucker, you got to fight back or die or hide behind something. You understand what I'm saying? This is where we are right now. So you talked about building a united front against fascism. And we've been talking about that. It's almost eerie because of course that is something that you all worked towards back in 1969. You're talking about 56 years ago. And as of late, over the past damn near 6-7 months on this platform, we have been pushing a united front against fascism. In fact, 3 of the candidates that ran was on the platform and they agreed to join us for a united front against fascism. Cornel West, Jill Stein, Claudia De La Cruz, the 3 of them was on this platform on Black Power Media Reloaded, and they said, look, we all for it, so on and so forth. For folks who are new to this and folks who are just stepping up to the game, please explain, not that we haven't explained it 1,000 times, but you know what I'm saying, maybe, ears are a little clearer today. Maybe eyesight's the vision's a little bit clearer today. Explain what a united front against fascism is and why it's important for folks to get down with it right now.
Well, I wrote out the basis for a united front. A united front is a coalition. In essence, it's a coalition of disparate forces who have a common enemy, who have common goals, who share common principles, and in some cases ideology. And it's each organization, no matter how small, each group, no matter how large, brings to the table their organizing skills, brings to the table their programs and their projects to amplify the struggles of each other and to consolidate the struggles of each other. Of each particular organization into a fist. It's like having 5 fingers on the hand, and we know that if we close this hand tight and we make it into a fist, then it has power. It can have power. It depends on the trajectory of the punch. It depends on the weight behind the fist. But the fist has to be balled into a consolidated mass. And that's our job. And we should take this seeming electoral defeat as a plus. And the reason why I say that is because this defeat will hopefully inspire other organizations who were skeptical of the ideology of Pan-African nationalism, and those Pan-African nationalists who were skeptical of white labor and white progressives and Latinos who were skeptical of Black people over the immigration issue. And all of these forces now see that we have a duty and we have an obligation to turn off and throw off the delusion of inclusion and become a force to be reckoned with in this country. We need to become a hammer in this country, a hammer for change, a hammer for progress. We need to become a monkey wrench in this society, a monkey wrench that will that will clog up and stop the U.S. war machine and thwart the militarization of police. We know that there's over 50 cop cities right now that are being planned or in various stages of development. We can imagine, or we should assume, that this process will speed up under the Orange Man. But we need to understand that this is a partial victory for progressive and revolutionary forces, because the clown that they elected president is a buffoon. He's an ignoramus. He's an idiot. And he has no idea, no concept about anything other than power and his own self-aggrandizement. And this means that, like Sun Tzu said, if you know your enemy, if you understand your enemy, you could fight 1,000 battles and never fear defeat. So the national security state is being hamstrung now by an idiot at its head, by a buffoon at his head. And I anticipate he will make some colossal mistakes in foreign policy that will lead, hopefully, to the overthrow of U.S. hegemony in Western Asia, in Africa, and around the world. Now we need to understand who our true allies are, who our true friends are. Now we must organize. We shouldn't be afraid. We need to arm ourselves. We need to organize in our community. We need to organize to take over the control of public safety on the local level. It doesn't matter who's running for federal office or who is in control of the executive branch of government when it comes down to organizing in our communities. Now we need to talk to the so-called politicians who were running and supporting Kamala Harris and talking about she was the one to elect. Now, in fact, we need to understand that Kamala Harris, now that she's going to be soon, she's going to be out of office, she's going to be out of power, she's not going to be out of influence and out of and out of touch with the with the petty black bourgeoisie and the black misleadership class. Now we can challenge our black misleadership class to get off their asses and organize. Now we could step to the Congressional Black Caucus and say, you see, you've been useless. You've been useless in U.S. foreign policy. You've been useless in thwarting the development of proto-fascism in this country. And now that it's in pocket, now we're going to change the complexion of the Congressional Black Caucus. We're going to get true radicals, true revolutionaries, true Pan-Africanists, true patriots of Black power and working class power. Now is the time to throw off the yoke of the proxies of those Negroes, these black mayors and these black officials and these bootlicking entertainers who came out dancing and shaking their ass for Kamala Harris. Now we're going to see how serious they are. All of those people with all of that money, we need that money for a Black United Front. We need that money for anti-imperialist United Front. If you can get out and big up Kamala Harris and get on TV and talking about it was her way or the highway, now is the time that you understand that she is no longer an option. The Democratic Party is no longer an option. So all that money that you threw behind giving events for Kamala Harris, you need to throw that money behind those revolutionaries and those movements that are going to participate in this united front. So I think this is a unique opportunity for revolutionaries and Pan-African internationalists around the world to coalesce, to come together. And like Kalanji just said, we're not wagging no fingers, we're not pointing no fingers, but all of those resources, all of that money that went behind promoting the left wing of the vulture, of the United States corporate finance capitalist vulture, the right wing won. And now those funds, those resources need to be channeled in to grassroots organizations, to grassroots building, so that we can have a united front, a powerful political entity by the middle of this term, Orange Man in office. And I might say too, and don't get it twisted, I hate to act like I'm Nostradamus or somebody, but homeboy ain't gonna make it to the finish line. You understand? He ain't gonna make it to the finish line because not only is he senile and unhealthy, he ain't gonna make it to the finish line. And so, who's gonna step in his place? Look at his running mate. I think it's Vance or somebody. Look at that knucklehead. So he's the next one up. Hakeem Jeffries, the bootlicker that was on AIPAC's tit, that's been supporting the genocide in Western Asia. He's done too. I believe they won a majority in the House. I believe the Republicans, the right wing of the vulture, won a majority in the House. So Hakeem Jeffries is going to be a minority leader. He was a minority leader from the beginning. Only majority he supported was corporate capitalism, white supremacy. It's the same thing with Meek. So all these Negroes now have to look for a future and where they're going to go, what they're going to do. And we the ones, the masses of African people, the homeless, the marginalized, the disenfranchised, the demonized, the hustlers, all of us now we are in the pocket. Now we are in pocket. It's up to us to organize on the grassroots. And
check this out. Check this out before you go, because you definitely, going in, and we appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? But you start talking about some politicians. So I felt that it was only right that I reach out to one of our favorite comrades and politicians. We only rock with a few politicians. You know what I'm saying? And if you were to name two politicians that you would say both you and I can agree on, who would you say?
Oh, who you got coming on next? What's his name again? Charles Barron. That's what I'm talking about.
My man. It's good seeing you, my brother.
Good seeing you too, black man.
And your analysis,
day,
man, is so right on. So right on.
The day after, everybody's waking up with a political hangover. This the day after.
Yeah,
good day.
Continue to do what we've been doing, man, and what we had planned on doing. No matter who was the colonial administrator of this colonial capitalist system, whoever got in, we would be doing what we're going to do. And you laid it out beautifully, man. You laid it out beautifully. This is a ripe time for revolution, for radical systemic change. Look what's going on in Africa. And now if we can just, in the belly of this colonial capitalist beast, if we can just rise to the occasion, like you're saying, and this is the right time for revolution, radical change, all of that stuff that people have been saying about, hey, you know, we got to stop Trump. We got to stop Trump. Well, you didn't. You didn't stop Trump. You didn't stop the right wing. Now, what you going to do? What you going to do? And then they'll start pointing fingers and all of that, as you said. So
they need to sign some. They need to sign some bank checks before the digital currency kicks in, and we have a barcode stamped on our neck. You understand? Whenever we go to the store, instead of coming with money or credit card, we got a barcode on our wrist. You know, that's coming. Look what's going to happen at the next meeting at Davos. Look what's going to happen to the struggle for against global warming. Look what's going to happen with AfroCom in Africa. All of these things now.
That's right.
It may look dark right now, but this is the darkness right before dawn.
There you go.
It's like our ancestors said, in the darkest hour of slavery and chattel slavery, they used to say, "Hurry sundown, see what tomorrow brings." So let's hurry sundown. Let's hurry the sundown of fascism and empire and organize. And all of those resources that went to these reactionary Band-Aid programs, all of those resources that went to bolster Kamala Harris and the Democratic ticket, to bolster people like Adams, that piece of dog doo-doo in New York, all of that money that honest working class poor people put in the hopes that these people would represent their interests and defend them, all of that money now needs to be put into building a united front. All of that money now to be put in behind radical organizations that are talking about everything from reparations to debt forgiveness for students. Now is our time. This is our season. This is the season of the switch.
So real quick, one thing we didn't do, and you know, I feel, you know, I'm self-critical on this, is we didn't give Brother Charles the proper introduction. We just brought him on like
good job, man. You the master of ceremonies, man.
Well, I'm the MC now.
Yeah, man. You the PD of this program.
Ah, man.
Oh, man. See,
listen,
come
man.
on, why you do that?
You know,
all right.
Listen, hey, listen, man. If you were you, I'm gonna tell you like my father told me. If you were you, I'll whoop your ass. Anyway, yeah, I can't even recover from this. We might go to a break. Anyway, Brother Charles, man, we appreciate you coming on. As you know, your comrade of mine, you know, he lost his mind a long time ago. That's why we brought him on here. I want to know, I mean, man, he just messed me up to the P. Diddy of the joint. For folks who are unfamiliar with you, brother, give us your bio, please. Give us a
Well, you know, I grew up in the domestic colony called the Lower East Side of Manhattan in the Lillian Wall projects. And while I was in the Lillian Wall projects, you know, I met this brother, Tony Martin and Mark Holder. Mark Holder and Tony used to come down to the Lower East Side and sell Panther papers, and we would argue and debate. And they said, well, why don't you just come on up to, I was about 18, come up to the Harlem branch and you'll see the breakfast program, the political education classes. And then that's when I met Jamal Joseph and Setwile, Michael Tabar. As a matter of fact, I remember when they was talking about communalism or something, going to Philadelphia, and went to Philadelphia for this conference on intercommunalism, whatever it was evolving to. And Set, man, he turned that place out. He was supposed to be the warm-up speaker for Huey Newton. And I remember saying...
Yeah, that was the Constitutional Convention.
Right. He turned that place out. And then I also, got to meet the last poets, but I did most of my work on the Lower East Side with Felipe Luisiano and the Young Lords and Richie Perez and Pablo Guzman on the Lower East Side. From there, I went to Hunter College in the CUNY system, and I met Reverend Daughtry, and that's when I joined the Black United Front, became the Harlem chapter chairperson of the Black United Front, and Reverend George Daughtry's chief of staff. I also got an opportunity to travel around a bit. Went to Africa, about 5, 6, 7 countries in Africa. Went to Zimbabwe and brought Robert Mugabe to City Hall. They had a fit. I went to the Gaza Strip with George Galloway and Cynthia McKinney and Ted Prez, Matulu. When we went there in 2009, it was blown up then. I can't even imagine how it looks now. So I got a chance to go to Cuba, and I was shocked when I went to the medical school in Cuba, and 2 students got up and said, "Hey, Councilman Barron," and they were from East New York, getting free medical education in Cuba from East New York. Castro has always been right on for us, and Che Guevara. So after my Black United Front term, I said, we need some power. Where's the power? And I said, the power's in the city council. I stopped just calling them Uncle Tom, sellout Negro, you this and that. And they don't care. As long as you can't beat them, they can call them all the names you want. And then we decided we was going to take them on. So we took the most powerful machine on in Democratic Party machine. The Kings County Democratic Organization in Brooklyn is the most powerful Democratic Party organization in the country. And we had about 24 people, $24, and we beat them for 21 years. So we were able to take them out and stop gentrification. Was able to get the state assembly, because my wife and I, got both seats, the state assembly seat and the city council seat. And when I was term limited out of the city council, she ran for my seat, I ran for her seat. So we've been in power for like 21 years. She retired. They got my seat back in the last election. No big thing, because we're going to keep rolling. But that's when we was able to stop Walmart from coming into our district. We got some letters from the New York, the State Assembly Caucus, Black, Latino, Asian Caucus, for Jalil and for Seth Hayes and for Herman Bell. Along with all of the movement work that's been done over the years, they were released. That bill that they have on reparations, that's my bill. They watered it down after I left and took the appointment power away from the community groups I had in my bill and said that the state would do it, the white governor and the 2 neo-colonial puppets of the Democratic Party who head up the state assembly and the state senate. So I'm 74 years old, young, and I've been at it for 50 some odd years now, and I couldn't be more excited now, more seeing the opportunity now, so ripe for revolution and radical change than I've ever seen before in a very long time.
No doubt.
That's right. I just want to say something, Charles. Me and Charles go back like rocking chairs, man. And he's always been almost the only, well, I got to say the only Black elected official that actually spoke truth to power. That in the city councils in New York and in the state legislature in New York, he talked about white supremacy and imperialism and the effects of Zionism on local politics and the effects of AIPAC on local politics. I just want to say, Charles, that a lot of people don't fully realize that the breadth of the period of time that you were just speaking about. You were there when the Jesse Jacksons and many of the Comprador class sabotaged the move for a black political party in Gary, Indiana. You were there when they told Jesse was even wearing a medallion and had an afro then. You were there. You were there when the Al Sharptons co-opted local politics over the Tawana Brawley case. You were there fighting for the rights and to be heard, the rights of poor people in Brooklyn to be heard. You could walk through Brooklyn now. There's many projects that Charles has had shepherded for housing, for health care, health clinics that are right now functioning in that community. So I just want people to understand that Charles is not just talking about himself. He's talking about a period of time when at least the militant movement, the residual militancy of the 60s and early 70s was trying to come back, was trying to reestablish itself. And it was undermined and sabotaged by many of the Negro politicians who would later go on to endorse Clinton and the war on drugs and the war on crime that helped militarize the police. So Charles Barron is not just talking about himself. He's not just talking about that. He's talking about a period of time when Black people trying to recover from COINTELPRO and the repression of the 60s and 70s tried to organize on the local level to take control and political power. And for a moment there were the Charles Barrons. There were a few local elected officials who stood firm. So now we are revisiting this moment on a much higher level. And I got to say this, it's very important that all the resources that were poured into the Democratic Party behind these proxies for white supremacy, behind these Negro leaders and elected officials, you need to now turn those resources to the most revolutionary and the most militant organizers in your community and empower them. This is important right now, and I'm excited to live in this historical moment. I got my boots on. I got my kicking boots on. I'm ready to kick mud, and I imagine that maybe now many of the schools and universities and forums that wouldn't invite me in through the back door now might understand that it's time to have a new message delivered to the Black masses, to poor people, to working people, that now we have to build our own political base. The Ras Barakas, who have cozied up to establishment and power and has a lot of church women supporting him, is running for governor in New York. He ain't going to get elected dog catcher in New Jersey. New Jersey is a racist stronghold for some of the most right-wing racists on the East Coast. And so we know that the mayor's office in Newark, New Jersey has always been used as a stepping stone to the Senate, as a stepping stone to congressional positions. From the Cory Bookers and that went before him, they have been used for a stepping stone. And now there's no more steps to step on now to get up there. If we have to go back, he has to go back to doing what he used to do with Neoforce. He has to go back to organizing in the Black community, not for reform, not for crumbs from the table of corporate supporters of the Democratic Party. Now he has to organize these brothers and sisters in the community to build an independent power base that could stand firm against the white supremacist flood that's going to encircle Newark, New Jersey, and New York. Now is our time. And although Charles is 76 and I'm 80, I know Charles is ready. We still got we dust off the old leather helmets.
That's right.
And the boxing gloves, and that's why I wanted to say that last night I was very impressed by the turnout to these direct action white activists right here in Brooklyn. And there was over 150 of them crammed into a space. The place was over flooded. And so I'm saying, even for the white left, even for the Claudia Dela Cruzes and Jill Steins, and even for them, their participation in this United Front effort is crucial as well. We need to get these young people who are disgruntled, who have a different viewpoint right now. The genocide in Western Asia has empowered and brought to consciousness an entire generation of young people. Okay, now they're back in school. Now they're back in their various communities, and they're shocked by this too. So we have to reach out. We have to organize. We really, really have to organize. All of these bootlickers that were running around supporting the right the right-wing Democratic Party and the neoconservative, whenever they show up in public, we need to smack them down. We need to throw eggs at them. They shouldn't have a voice no more. And the first chance we get, we need to run them out of office. We need to run these city councils out of office that has been sitting on these cop cities and allowed the police to run rampant in our community and murder black men and murder black women and get away with it. We need to run these district attorneys out of office that have supported the police unions and succumb to police power in our cities. Now is our time.
Now
we got to try
to do that. And you know, Dhoruba, as you mentioned, right here in New York, just think of the neo-colonial puppet structure of New York State, these proxies for a white racist in the Democratic Party. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, a white judge, said that Jalil Montecalm, he was down too long, it's been over almost 50 years. A white judge said, release him. This is a death penalty. The black attorney general appealed that, and Jalil had to stay in and caught COVID. And this is what the white judge was concerned about, not the black woman, the white judge. And then we finally got him out by way of the parole system. Same thing with Seth Hayes and Herman Bell. And then you have Hakeem Jeffries, who wears his yarmulke more than he wears a kufi. This man is sucking up to Israel. He had the nerve to get before an a Jewish crowd, and say, Israel today, Israel tomorrow, Israel forever, repeating George Wallace's racist segregation phrase.
And we need to say that
and put in Israel. And he, in his district, Dhoruba, when he was the assembly member in his district, the 57th Assembly District in Brooklyn, New York, it was 71% black. And so was Tish James, the council member, 71% black. After their tenureship, it is now 31% black and 38% white, and the rest is other. And all those districts that they supported, and this is how DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, got empowered in his district, because they allowed for gentrification. Remember, we used to call Washington, D.C. the chocolate city. Now it's marshmallow city. So many whites have come in. And Atlanta, right? Atlanta. I remember when I used to go to Atlanta, it was 70, 80% black, 15 council members, 13 blacks, 2 Latinos. Now it's 7 whites and 7 blacks. And all of this stuff happened with black politicians, black mayors, black city councils. White people didn't gentrify our neighborhoods because they weren't empowered to do that. And my beloved East New York, the Daily News hates me, but they had to write an article and say East New York is the only black community that experienced a 13.2 increase in the black population. When I came in there, it was like 90% black and brown. Now it's 91% black and brown. And I didn't do it, Dhoruba, but I lost whites. I lost whites in my district. They left on their own. They were like 6. They were only 6%. Now they're down to 3.5%. But you go to Bed-Stuy, you go to Crown Heights, you go to Harlem, all these districts in New York, they're turning more and more white, 400, 500, 600% increase in the white population and decreases in the black population.
And this is supposed to be a blue, and this is supposed to be a blue state. This is supposed to be a blue state.
Correct.
But we need to understand that
that's what.
But once you leave New York City, once you leave the urban, the continuous urban sprawl of New York City, and you go to upstate New York, you might as well be in Mississippi. Once you go to upstate New York, where most of the prisons are, and I need people to understand that that New York State, like in most states, the prison industrial complex thrives in the rural areas.
That's right.
And we need to understand that this vote, the next vote goes around. I don't know when the next census is going to be taken, but the districts are allocated. The districts are allocated by demographics. And so when the census goes around and we go to Harlem, You know, we don't understand that those family members who are in upstate prisons are not counted as your part of your household because you don't put them down as part of your household. And because you don't put them down as part of your household, their numbers are aggregated in the northern rural areas where there are prisons.
That's right.
Okay, so a township that might be next to a major prison in upstate New York might only have 1,500 people, 15,000 people in the whole district. But when you add 5,000 incarcerated individuals, it's 20,000.
That's
you
what
see.
happened. You
So
know
we
what
need
else,
to understand.
the community of Dannemore, where Tupac was incarcerated. Without that prison, without Sing Sing prison, there is no town.
Dannemore is Clinton. Dannemore is Clinton.
Clinton. That's right. It was Clinton. Matter of fact, when I went to visit Tupac there, if they don't have that prison, they don't have an economy. And matter of fact, you know Marty, you remember Marty Markowitz, the borough president of Brooklyn? A little white boy used to have these, I used to call them plantation concerts, where he would have those huge concerts, bring all black stars. The place would have thousands of us in there. Marty Markowitz used prison labor to set up the chairs, literally. The brothers had on their prison gear, so he only paid them $1 an hour instead of paying some young people at least a minimum wage to set up chairs. He used prison labor, which goes back to the whole economy of America is a prison-based economy, military-based economy. And you remember the times when there was a time where you round up black people, arrest them, so the sheriff gets a fee, and then they get into court, and the judge gets a fee, and then you have corporations in the court bailing them out, and they would be involved in some contractual labor, prison contractual labor, convict leasing, and all of that stuff. That stuff was happening with Marty Markowitz. The
methadone program of state dope fiends, the state drug addicts, in which methadone was court. The courts referred drug addicts who were addicted to heroin and crack to these methadone programs, and these methadone programs were subsidized by the state. And so instead of ingesting heroin, they ingested methadone, which was just as addictive as heroin. So we need to understand that it's these Negroes on the local level that we put into office that betrayed us. It's these Negroes that we put into local office that found out that their bread was buttered on the side of white supremacy and not on the toasted side of brown power or black power. So we need to relieve them of any duties right now. This is the time. This is the time to relieve them of any duties. Hakeem Jeffries, who said Israel now, Israel tomorrow. He could take his black ass to Tel Aviv right now. You understand? And deal with Hezbollah. Because his ass definitely ain't welcome back in the black community. And black lawyers who are talking about supporting local politics and local reforms, we need to have a class action suit against AIPAC and declare them unregistered representative of a foreign government. We need to go after the police unions that have more power in our city than the communities they police. We need to go after those unions and have them legally decertified. We need to take these class actions into court. We need to take the initiatives now. We need to organize now. All of these rap artists that was out there twerking for Kamala Harris, when they give another concert, we should go there and turn it out. We should tear it up. You understand? Until they start stepping forward for their community. We need to understand now is the time for kicking ass and taking numbers. It ain't the time to mourn. It ain't the time to feel sad or depressed. Now is the time to feel energized and inspired to arm ourselves or harm ourselves, to organize, to use electoral politics as a means of organization, and that is a hope for freedom. So I just wanted to say that, and I know Kalandri wants to move on. So I'm just saying now, I feel, now that I drank my coffee and I see who won this election, I'm ready to go. I got my sneakers on. Only thing I ain't do throw on my shades. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Listen, man. First off, Man, the thing I love about having y'all both on at the same damn time, y'all make my job easier because of the fact that
we won't let you get a word in, huh?
No, that's cool. I'm good. And listen, let me tell you something, man. I am good. And the thing is, and this is a lesson for the viewers. There's a time to be a teacher, there's a time to be a student. The best teachers are better students. You understand what I'm saying? I have no problem. This platform ain't about YouTube. This is about you too. This is about what we're doing. This is about our liberation. You know what I mean? Right. So this is the reason why we're doing Black Power Media, not for shucking, jiving, and chuckling and giggling and all that bullshit. We talk about how we gonna move to the next stage. And this is what we're doing here today. So I appreciate that. Real quick, I want to just speaking of a chuckle. Yo, D, I ain't tell you that I ran into Brother Charles down here at a particular supermarket.
At a supermarket.
Yeah, he had some shades on and tried to mosey past me like he wasn't him and whatnot. I'm like, man, I look like Charles, man.
He was incognito.
He's incognito hardcore. So I circle raps in my mind. I'm like, man, ain't nobody fly as Charles Barron. I'm like, it's an imposter. So I circled back around and I saw Mama Inez, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's you. You ain't gonna have no dark skinned fly wife and the kente cloth. I walked up to him. I'm like, how you doing? This is how I know he seen me. I turned around. He's like, hey, how you doing, brother? I'm like, oh man, you colder than the white man. I'm just
see, with comrades like y'all, who needs enemies, man? Y'all my comrade. Look at y'all doing to me, man. I know I'm in trouble now. But it was so good to see you, my brother. It was refreshing, and it helped.
Well, you need to go back to see our old friend, Reverend Daughtry, who and cheer him up, and tell him, tell him we want to have a united front. We want to have a united front community forum at his church. Now that I know he was all in for Kamala. I know he was all in on them. So now I'm quite sure he's ready for prime time again. So let's get busy.
Well, see, with Reverend Daughtry, that is my mentor, my spiritual father. I will always respect and appreciate him. We definitely go in our different ways now, but we still have a great relationship. But this is a time for us to do just that. This is a time, and I just, for transparency, we endorse Cornel West with whatever the contradictions people have. That's their problem. But we endorse Cornel West, and I appreciate the fact that he made the commitment to organize with us after the election, which is now. And he said he spoke to you, Dhoruba, and he was impressed with your call for a united front. Because I asked him, I said, you spoke to my man Dhoruba? Oh, I'm definitely going all the way with you now. But the call for a united front, which is really what's needed right about now. So, some people say, well, Charles, but Cornel can't win. You're going to take votes away from Kamala. I said, first of all, what an ignorant, insulting remark. You're going to tell me somebody got our votes in their pocket before the election even starts, and I got to pickpocket our votes from somebody who has been nothing but an enemy to our people. Both parties support, as Dhoruba said, both parties supported AFRICOM, the military bases in Africa. No humanitarian aid. Both parties signed off and was complicit with the genocide of the Palestinian people. Both parties have supported all of those coups d'etats in Latin America and Asia, all over the world. Both parties, and we got to remember, when they had that, Dhoruba, you remember that conference they had in New Hampshire, the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. That's when they came up with the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization. So now, and then that's 44, 49, here comes NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Here they come.
And they're in Africa.
When you look at NATO in 49, and you look at Bretton Woods in 44, And as we move into the 21st century, and you have the BRICS conference, I know it has contradictions, and we have the Sahel region rising up, but Africa is saying, France, get the hell out of Africa and leave
America,
the uranium behind, because you used our uranium in Niger to light up a third of Europe while we stayed in the dark with our own resources. The paradox of Africa is that it is the richest continent in the world with the poorest people because of imperialism and the colonial mode of production. So when we move into the 21st century and you see BRICS and other countries saying, you know what, the hell with the IMF, later for the World Bank, later for the World Trade Organization. And as far as your currency is concerned, we're not dealing with the dollar. We're not dealing with the British pound. We're not dealing with the France franc. We're not dealing with the euro. We're looking at the dinar, which is going to be backed by gold. That's why they murdered Muammar Gaddafi, because he was looking at taking this in a whole nother direction. And that is live and real possible now. But what are we going to do in the belly of the beast? This is the best time to strike the most mighty blow we can in the belly of the beast. They're even divided amongst their own house. Right now, there's a possibility that there's going to be Trump as president. They might even hold on to the House, and they got the Senate.
They lost the Senate.
If you can't make revolution in that climate, we're in big trouble.
I just want to say, Charles is absolutely right on. I'm going back to Africa in December, inshallah. And when I get back there, I will be working with the Socialist Party of Ghana, with the EFF in South Africa, with the young folks coming from Kenya. I mean, I feel 50 years younger, and that's because I know that what's in store for us, if we don't build, if we don't protect ourselves, if we don't protect our families and our future and our children, we done. And so it's like we used to say in the Black Liberation Army, whenever we went out on a mission, blood to the horse's brow and woe to those who cannot swim. So those who aren't ready to swim against fascism and proto-fascism and the police state in America, you're gonna drown. And I'm not the type of lifeguard that's gonna jump in the water and try to stop you from drowning and let you pull me down. We have to organize. We have to organize from the street level up, and sack these misleadership class that brought us to this position. This is our first mission now, to run these niggas out of office. This is our first vision now.
A straight talk. When I was with the Black United Front, Reverend Herbert Daughtry, we gave everybody a chance. Supported Jesse in his campaign, tried to unite with Compton. We tried to unite with Ed Towns and all of them. And you remember Al Van and all of them, may he rest in peace. We tried to get with all of them, trying to form some united thing, and it just does not work. This is why I put the brakes on that. So yes, we did all of that, but now is the time for independent, Black, radical, revolutionary politics, and the electoral arena is not a panacea. We're not going to be able to vote our way to freedom, but it certainly is a strategy. Dhoruba, you got to come when you come to New York, and
I'm in New York. I'm in Brooklyn.
Come on, why don't you come see me, man? I want to take you around my district. What's your problem, man? Yo, what's your problem?
I'm so broke I can't pay attention,
brother. And sneakers. Will you bring your little boots and sneakers to East New York, man?
I'm right down from the Barclays Center. I'm right across.
Oh no, you're not. No, you're not. Yes, no, you are not.
Yes,
when are you going back to Africa?
I had to I postponed it. I was supposed to go back on the 12th, but I have to get a surgical treatment on the 13th, so I had to postpone that. So I'm going back on December 1st.
Oh shoot!
Now both
I'm gonna give you a holiday after this broadcast. We're hooking up. I want to show you some stuff out here. And
I'm right down the street, bro.
I know you are. Talking about you have Barclays. Got some.
I just walked past.
He got some boots and sneakers.
I walked past Reverend Daughtry.
By Barclays.
I know where you are. I'm gonna give you a holler so we can hook up.
Absolutely, man.
Well, listen, I feel left out. Both of y'all are supposed to be coming to Atlanta soon, so I'm just
I'm coming down. I'm coming down there. I'm coming down there. I'm coming down before. I'm coming down there before the 18th to 19th because I'm going to be down there until I leave. Okay. I want to see my boy, and I want to give a shout out to Saif Uddin, who scored 2 touchdowns on his first varsity outing.
Get him, nephew.
Yeah, that's my boy, man.
Nephew right
so
there.
I can't wait till he get pro so I can buy my pickup truck. But I'm only joking.
Listen, real quick, because we're going to get sidetracked. You know what I'm saying? First off, we checking out Black Power Media. This is Rise Up Morning Show. We have Dhoruba and Wahad alongside Brother Charles Barron. And we gotta invite Inez Barron on as well. I meant to say that yesterday. I don't know why, my brain be somewhere, but definitely.
Well, you want some sexist stuff anyway, man.
This dude, right? First he's gonna call me P. Diddy of Listen,
you the host, man. You got to take these shots.
You
the host, man.
See, that's why black people can't have nothing. Listen,
you got to take these shots. That's like everybody. That's like everybody got to stick the spear in the side of Jesus.
Man,
and prove their royalty, their fealty to Rome.
Man,
so I had to do that, bro. I want the sisters to understand. Give me a shout out.
Hey, no, but look at it. He'll sell you out for chicken change. Anyway, I want to ask, brother. First, we're gonna take it to we're gonna go to a quick Black Power break. Get a couple minutes in from somebody we all can agree with real quick. Again, you're checking out Black Power Media. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. This is the day after. You know what I mean? Because a lot of folks, like I said, we know that, folks are losing it. They're concerned, blaming everybody, saying what's what, this, that, so on and so forth. But we're going to take it to one of our favorites real quick. One of the brothers who I believe has inspired all of us to do what we do. And of course, he's no stranger to our platform. He's an ancestor, but he's someone that we love and respect. We talk about El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X. So we're gonna go to this quick Black Power break, and we'll be right back with you with Dhoruba and Wahad. Charles Barron, don't go nowhere.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. Because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. If you're interested in freedom, you need some judo, you need some karate, you need all the things that will help you fight for freedom. Nationalism is the wave of the present and the future. It is nationalism that's bringing freedom to oppressed people all over the world. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Algerians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Nigerians and to the Ghanaians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the people of Uganda and Tanganyika and Sudan and Somaliland. The Africans didn't get it by sitting in. They didn't get it by waiting in. They didn't get it by singing "We Shall Overcome." They got it through nationalism. And you and I will get it through nationalism. What is it? What is it that makes it difficult for the philosophy of nationalism to spread among the so-called Negroes? Number one, they think they have a stake in America. They think they have an investment in this country, which we do. We invested 310 years of slave labor, 310 years, every day of which Your and my mother and father worked for nothing. Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown. From can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday, they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. They'd go up in the sky, and every day would be Sunday. That's a shame. And it is that 310 years of slave labor that went in, that was my and your contribution into this particular economy and political system. They can give us the back pay. Let's join in. If this is what the Negro wants, let's join in. Let's show him how to struggle. Let's show him how to fight. Let's show him how to bring about a real revolution. Let's make him stop jiving. You don't need a debate. You don't need a filibuster. You need some action.
We are back live and direct. Of course, that was the man with the plan, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. We had to do that quick Black Power break because we wanted to make sure that you all heard it from someone other than us, because sometimes we forget. And we had to bring that culture back. And, you know, who better to do it than El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X? Real quick, y'all thoughts, because of the fact that, again, every year, along with what we're talking about, folks get caught up in, not every year, every 4 years, they get caught up in this hope for this electoral system. They get caught up in this hope for electoral politics. And unfortunately, we look, and of course we say a wise man utilize all tools. So we're not going to knock whatever it is you can do from where you are. Bunchy Carter, former Panther, assassinated in Los Angeles. One of the things he said is, if you can't do nothing but spit, then motherfucker spit. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody has a role to play. You know what I mean? So we're not expecting you to be Charles Barron. We ain't expecting you to be Dhoruba. We ain't expecting you to be me. We're expecting you to be the real you. And if you're a coward, get out the way.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? Don't interfere and interrupt, derail, or distract what's going on. Today, we should be careful of those who are pointing fingers. We should be careful of the folks who are talking about, well, she didn't win because of this, because of that. At best, they're naive or politically retarded. Because if you think that you are going to advance in a system that's built off of white supremacy, if you think that you're going to advance in a place that was stolen, you know what I'm saying? As the saying goes, there would never be justice on stolen land. You know what I mean? There will never be the liberation of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown. There'll never be the liberation of Leonard Peltier. There'll never be the liberation of Kamal Siddiqui, Joy Powell, and so many others if we just sit back and do the Jesse Jackson and say up with hope, down with dope. You got to be on dope if you think that you're going to get some type of liberation without putting in some blood, sweat, and tears. I want to ask you, Charles, because of the fact that before you came on, I posed this question to Dhoruba. And that question is, where do we go from here? Because, you know, we've been talking about organizing. We've been talking about, you know, before you came on, D was talking about, you know, boom, we got to, you know, get it in. We got to get, you know, we got to build that immune system, for lack of better words.
Right.
What's your thoughts? Let's get some feedback from you.
Well, you know, I'm very, very excited about that. First, let me say this about the electoral arena and how the white power structure has created this arena to maintain their colonial occupation of our communities and colonial occupation all over the world, and pushing imperialism, cultural imperialism, as well as economic and political imperialism, and of course, colonial capitalism right here in America. But check out the electoral system. Most people listening to this or watching this broadcast never voted for president in their life. They can't. What people voted for on November 5th, this wasn't a presidential election on November 5th. It was an electoral politics election. Every state has a number of electoral college appointees, and that comes from each party. So let's say New York has 28, California has 54. You saw all night they were trying to get to what? 270.
277,
and
yeah.
The matching, the only people that can vote for president is the electors in December. So they're going to go in December and they're going to vote. And they had a history of what they call faithless electors. In many states, you have to vote for the party that won the majority vote in that state.
Absolutely.
But in some states, they don't even have to vote for the candidate of their party. So in 2020, I'll get the figures today for this one, but in 2020, there were 240 million registered American voters. 160 million came out to vote. 80 million stayed home. And when you look at that, of that 160 million in 2020, Trump got 74 million. That's incredible. And Biden got 81 million, also incredible. So they had 155 million. Then there were 5 million independent voters. So can you imagine, of 160 million people that came out to vote, only 538 can vote for president directly.
Can you explain electoral college, brother? Because I think that
came into existence in the South.
All right, let Charles do this electoral college piece, and then we'll go to you real quick, Dhoruba, because I think a lot of folks
in the South, when the country first started in 1776, they had a constitutional convention in 1789, and they wanted to determine how are we going to elect the president. So they said, well, let's have a committee in Congress and they'll elect the president. They said no. They said, all right, why don't we let the governors do it? They said no. They said, all right, how about the state legislatures? We'll let them elect the president. They said no. Well, how about the popular vote? Just let the popular vote do it. The people voted. They said no. So they came up with this electoral college because the South had 4 million Africans. That's where the 2/3 or 2/5, 3/3, what is it?
That's right. That's right.
That's where the 3/5 of human beings came in, because the electoral number is based upon the congressional representation in the state. And as Dhoruba said, that's based upon the census count. The census count. And even though whites are counted twice and we undercounted, the census count. So they said the South would have all the presidents every time because they got all these African people. And if they're counted as a vote or a citizen or resident, then they would win. So they came up with this compromise called the Electoral College system. They said no one can have less than 3 small states like, Vermont, Iowa, New Hampshire. They got 3, 4, and 5. And then you have the higher states, like California has the most, 54. And so you know what they do? They have these. This is how capitalism maintains its power through the electoral system. It's winner take all. Y'all remember Ross Perot when he won? Ran? Ross Perot ran. He was on the ballot, the businessman, in all 50 states. Ross Perot got 20 million votes and no electoral votes because he didn't win not one state. It's winner take all. So Dhoruba and I are running in a state, and we both say, okay, we're running in New York. So if you're doing an independent party or whatever party, you have to send the Board of Election your list of electors, or else you're off the ballot because you're not voting for president. You're voting for the electors. Dhoruba sends his 28 in. I send my 28 in. Dhoruba gets 51% of the vote. I get 49% of the vote, damn near half the electorate. He gets all 28 electoral votes. I get none. Even if I don't think they should have the system at all, but if they at least said proportional distribution of the electoral votes, then third parties can influence and pick the next president. But by saying winner take all, you know it's going to be a Republican or a Democrat. So there is no democracy. That's a great hypocrisy. That's one. Secondly, what we're going to do after this, we have been doing all along, I'm working with a group. We're calling ourselves the National Black Radical Political Congress, and also having political conventions. Like Dhoruba said, the neo-colonial black puppets of the Democratic Party hijacked the Gary, Indiana convention in 1972. Dhoruba is 1,000% correct. They came in there with 2,000, and just so people know, that was in Gary, Indiana, 1972, 10,000 people came. Everybody, Republicans, Democrats, Panthers, Revolutionary Nationalists, Communists, Socialists, 10,000 black people came together. And then it was only 2,300 some odd black elected officials then. After the convention, Jesse was talking about, it's nation time. It's time to build a nation. Supposed to build an independent party and all of that. 10 years later, there were 7,000 black elected officials in the Democratic Party as a result of that convention. They didn't even want to endorse Shirley Chisholm. And then now there's about 16,000 to 18,000 black elected officials across this country. But still, the poverty is the same, the unemployment the same. So this is our third time. It's really small. We started in Pittsburgh, and we had about 60 people, and 10 different states were represented. And our thing is, you got to be anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist. You got to support reparations. You got to support freeing political prisoners from our basis of unity. You got to respect black women in leadership. And we got to do proportional representation. And we're only endorsing black radical revolutionary candidates. That's one move. We're going to build that, because I believe revolution is going to happen from the bottom up. And in the electoral arena, there's no better place to start than the city council and the state assemblies.
Absolutely.
Because they are local. And I can say this, and Dhoruba knows this, and when I bring him out to East New York, he will see it. Straight talk, y'all. When Barack Obama was president, and before him, Bush, that's when Inez and I were in office. Everything that I'm going to show Dhoruba when he comes to East New York, 3 new $88 million schools, $110 million worth of renovated parks. We have a community center that we made them put money together, $20 million, black youth running it, and we're going to get it from the developer for $1 after the duration of his loan. I can go on and on for the rest of this broadcast. We stopped gentrification. We stopped Walmart from coming in, and so much that we've done. But in all of that, we want to say that it's going to happen from the bottom up. The city council has the power. We have to do a power analysis. The city council has the power to pass the city budget, not the mayor. So you have 51 city council members in New York. Almost 30 of them are black, brown, and yellow, Asian, whatever you want to call it, people of color. So you have the majority, and the budget in the city council is $112 billion. The state budget for New York State is $237 billion. This is more than countries, and yet we have 30% poverty, double-digit unemployment. So our move is to take black radical revolutionaries, get them elected to city councils and state assemblies across the country, because Barack Obama won, deported more people than any other president. When Barack Obama won, public housing, NYCHA, the New York City Housing Authority in New York City, got their budget cut by Barack Obama, and he privatized it into these programs called RAD and PAT, trying to privatize public housing under Barack Obama. So we got nothing in East New York because we had a black president. And people say that, rhetorically. I can say that factually.
That's right.
Everything that we got in East New York came from the city council and the state assembly. And matter of fact, this migrant crisis. That's why Eric is in trouble. Other fact that he's a Republican sellout Negro sycophant. But other than that, he didn't get any money from the feds to deal with the migrant situation. So when we talk all of this presidential politics, yeah, we can deal with it. But if we want to make revolution, it's going to come from the bottom up. And so that's what we'll be doing, building a Black, radical, independent electoral movement. And Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, they have a Black radical electoral school that we go to every April in St. Louis. And if you want to fight against fascism, you didn't have to wait for Trump, because the fascism of Biden is what the FBI, their FBI, Biden and Harris's FBI, arrested and indicted and tried to put the Uhuru 3 in jail. You know, Dhoruba mentioned earlier about AIPAC. How come they're not charged for being a foreign agent to Israel? And yet you did that to the Uhuru movement. They beat, and this is the crazy thing, the contradiction, they beat the main charge. They said, no, they're not agents of Russia. The only people they were supporting were Black people. But yet you're going to convict them of conspiring to be something you said they weren't. So they convicted of being conspiring to be agents, but they was acquitted for actually being agents. So we say revolution from the bottom up.
No doubt.
I just want to say that I appreciate that, Charles, breaking that down to folks. I think that folks should replay that and listen to that and take that to heart in terms of their organizing. But you know, Charles went into the history of the electoral college system. You know, when Charles came to Philadelphia, when we had the Constitutional Convention, when the Black Panther Party called for a Constitutional Convention, it was precisely aimed at abolishing the electoral college system.
That's right.
Because it only can be abolished by a majority vote in the Senate and the House combined. Right. You just can't overthrow it, but you could circumvent it with local politics. Right. And that's what Charles was pointing out. Winner takes all is the basis of the system, and the reason why the 2/3 of a human being clause in the U.S. Constitution was based on the fact that at that particular time, when Charles pointed out the different alternatives to the electoral system, that the settlers, the original settlers, the so-called founding fathers, the South at that time had more chattel slaves, more African slaves that outnumbered the slaveholding class. You know, and so in order for the slave-owning class to maintain their property and control, the ownership of an individual slave, his 2/3 status went to his owner.
3/5.
So instead of 2/5 of whatever, 3/5 of a human, whatever, you know, went to the owner of the so-called African slave. So right. if the plantation owner had 20 slaves on his plantation, and he only had one vote, but when you add 3/5 of a human being to each one of his slaves, now he had like 3 votes. So they wanted to maintain the agrarian nature of the chattel slave system. What the Civil War was, in essence, was the struggle between the emerging Northeast finance capital industrialists and the agrarian South slave ownership class, and the North won. And so you could see how quickly they abandoned Reconstruction, and we went into sharecropping. We got to understand our history inside of this European white supremacist federal construct. And the shout out to Charles for pointing this out on a very grassroots level. The national election does not defeat us. All politics is local, and we can take control. We could take control of Brooklyn. We could take control of Manhattan. We could take control of Oakland, California. We have to run these proxies, these bootlickers out, because as Charles pointed out, but when we called that convention, there was only 7,000 or so Black elected officials. Now we have more Black faces in high places and no political power. All of these locations where we tune in every day and see the police murdering our people, murdering our brothers and sisters, they have Black mayors. They have black
right.
police chiefs. They have black city councils. Who voted for Cop City in Atlanta? A black city council.
Black city council. That's right.
So this is the ideal eye-opening moment that we should understand.
Right.
That on the local level, we could change our paradigm of power. And in 2 years, if we move in the fashion that Charles is indicating, if we move in this fashion, in 2 years, when they come in the off-year election, we would be a powerful entity if we had a united front.
That's right.
It'll be a wrap. It'll be a wrap.
Right.
So we won't be begging nobody and asking them for reform.
Right.
We will be demanding these things. So
and you know how right you are. First of all, the first 13 presidents of the United States were slaveholders or enslaved Africans. But Dhoruba hit it right on the head. Do you know there are some, Dhoruba, what I want to do is I want to really do some serious research. I had started it because, you know, I was going to do this Black radical political movement, and everybody I was trying to hook up with made their transition. Babajitu Weusi, Chokwe Lumumba, Viola Plummer, Gil Noble, all of us were getting together to try to do this, and they just like off the scene. But you know, there are some places, like if you do, like take Jackson, Mississippi, they only got seven council members. We got 51 in New York. They only have 7. So if you get a couple of thousand votes, you could win that local seat. Even in my beloved East New York, there's 161,000 people in a council district, and about 120. The smallest electoral district is the state assembly, 120,000 in New York, much smaller in other states. Of that 120,000, there's about 50 to 60,000 registered voters. And even if it's like our district, 90% Black and brown, guess how many come out to vote for an assembly race? 6 to 10,000. 50,000 stay home. We, Operation Power, that's our organization, we have the model on how you can beat the machine. Matter of fact, I did put a book together, Dhoruba. I'll give you a copy of it when you come in, when we get together, called Speaking Truth to Power. You can get it online with Barnes and Noble. In it, I have like 80 articles that I compiled over the years. But in it, I have an article, How to Beat the Machine. I laid out the blueprint on how we beat the most powerful machine. And when you say, who's the machine? That's the lawyers, the unions, the corporations. That's all of them that protect the Democratic Party, neo-colonial Black puppets. So Kalonji, if you tried to run for council, you better know how to get on the ballot. You better know how to collect those signatures so their lawyers don't knock you off the ballot. We were so good at it. When I first ran, I needed 900 good signatures for the council. I got 5,000. They knew they couldn't knock me off line by line. They took me to election court. I kid you not. They said I wasn't a citizen of the United States. They said we forged 3,000 signatures.
Where you from?
Look, I was teasing them. I was running against this sister who was not that sharp. This brother and sister was not that sharp. I said, they
took your citizenship.
Look, yeah, I said they had to think that Queens was a foreign country. They didn't know their geography. I was born in Queens, so they must have thought it was Queens, Russia, or something, or some Queens in a foreign country. But literally, you know what they were doing? They wanted me to spend my money in court and not on flyers and posters. I had to spend $7,000 to go to court to show the judge that they picked, the machine picked. I had to bring my birth certificate in. So I said, no, you should sanction them for a frivolous lawsuit, and they should pay the legal fee. Denied, because that's what he was there for. And then after I won that, they appealed it, and I had to spend another $3,000 for the appeal of this bogus, frivolous case. $10,000. Even the New York Times wrote an editorial on it and said this is ridiculous. But I'm saying that
It's
to
bad
say,
when they say
we
that.
can show you, huh?
I said when they say that, you know it's bad.
We can show you how to get on the ballot, how to beat the machine, how to beat their lawyers. And then we didn't only win the city council and state assembly, we took their district leaderships. You know, in New York, if you are a district leader, do you know there's a male and female district leader in every assembly district? They hire all of the election day workers. So there's 300 workers that the district leaders hire, and they pay them $600-700 an election. That's good money for some poor people in the hood. And so, but they tell them, and this is illegal, if you want to work on election day, you got to get 3 pages of signatures for the Democratic Party. You got to pay us dues, and you got to support our candidates. That's why it's hard to beat them. So what I did, I said, okay, I know that's how you roll. I got the tenant leaders in the public housing. They got down with me. I got some block association, and now they have public finance. So for every $1 you raise in New York, the city gives you 8. So if Dhoruba gives us $100, that's $900 contribution. So you can even match them money-wise on a local level. So we got the district leaderships, we got a judge elected, we got the community board, is all our people. They getting all of that back now, because after Inez stepped aside, they got my seat back. Now we building it back up. We got some young dynamic people. They saw what we did. I've been training them for years. We're going to get all those seats back. It's going to take us a minute, but this is the model we could take across the country and do what Dhoruba is saying on a very local level.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you see, Kalonji, this is what I told you about bringing Charles on. And you see, if you didn't listen to me, folks wouldn't be hearing this. You see, so
I must have missed you telling me that.
I understand, but that's why I was ignoring him in the shopping place. Man.
I'm trying to tell you that. He be
wasn't acting right.
Charles. He was talking about Charlie Rangel. I was talking about you.
Don't. So you putting it on the dead man now. You see what I'm saying?
I said, Dhoruba, Charles is gone for years.
But seriously though, you know, you have city mayor organizations of local political power, and you have the city council types or city manager types of systems. You know, but what Charles is talking about is a solution that fits both types of urban electoral politics. And I just want to throw this in: without an analysis of Black and African demographics in the U.S. and the conclusion that we are an internal Black colony in which resources and work and housing and everything is controlled from outside of our community, then we could begin to understand that we have to talk about everything from enlisting the churches. Many churches own property and apartments in the urban areas. We need to translate that into a system where we can take care of ourselves. If the lights went off in the Black community, we should be able to have alternative generators positioned all across the community that's plugged in as emergency system. Where's that money coming from? It's coming from the same so-called Black capitalists who are talking about keeping the dollar in the Black community. They're the ones that got to put up or shut up. They're the ones that's talking about hiring Black labor. They're the ones that's talking about Black capitalism. Well, we know that Black capitalism is not a panacea for our ills. What's a panacea for our ills is collective investment and collective struggle. Collective. We have to understand that you are living in urban areas that are dependent on technology, that are dependent on systems of sewage and sanitation. And these workers that are working in these particular areas, they're our people. They're our working class. They're the ones that pick up the garbage. They're the ones that fix the electrical system when it goes out. They are the first responders. So we have to integrate this ability to control the mechanisms and the technology that runs the urban environment and translate that into working class political power. We should be able to shut down any city in New York that does not meet our requirements and our needs. We need to do this. And so shout out to Charles. I'm looking forward to seeing him maybe this afternoon, as quick as this afternoon.
That's right.
Like I said, I write down the block. But I'm saying I'm really energized. I'm really energized by the opportunity that avails us right now. The three political candidates that ran as independents, they all agreed that the idea of a united front was they supported. Now that they're free of the electoral weight of running for office, now we got 2 years before the midterms. They need to throw their power. They need to throw their influence and their organization into building this united front. And I just want to end with this. If the Green Party, which doesn't have a footprint in the Black community, most Black folks in the Black community don't even know what the Green Party is. Okay. And so now is their opportunity to translate their registration in over 30 states into the backbone for pushes for community control of public safety, for instance, to analyze and strategize with Charles and the move that he's trying to make. We all need these forces under the same umbrella right now. And each one has an expertise in a particular field. Each one has the troops and the soldiers in each particular area to make this real. So all we have to do right now, Kalanji and myself, I would contribute any way I can to any type of a move for this. But we need all these Negroes, and this is something I can't get away from. We need to charge these Negroes up that's been pouring money into the Democratic Party, that's been pouring money into the institutions of white supremacy on the idea and the ideal of political form of white supremacy. You cannot reform the European nation state. You are not going to reform it. We have to take it from within, and we have to become a cudgel of mandatory consideration by the power structure. So the national security state, its police agencies, its intelligence agencies, are going to throw everything they can at us to undermine this. We've seen that with the indictment of Dhoruba 3. We see that with the demonization and criminalization of students who supported Palestine. We see all of this. All of these reactionaries have come out the woodwork now and made themselves clear who they are, where they are. Over this whole genocide in the past year. Everybody knows who's standing in the way of what we're talking about right now. And we need to take aim at them. We need to remove them from positions of influence and power. We need to run Hakeem Jeffries out of Congress now that he's going to be a minority leader. We need to run all of these Negroes, the Meeks, out of positions of power. We need to let these Negroes who are running for mayor under the Democratic Party understand that if they don't relate to the grassroots organization and grassroots empowerment, they're not going to get elected dog catcher under the Democratic Party. So I'm just glad that we're able to have this program.
Just in terms of to show you a power analysis, you mentioned there's two things that I think we need to look at on the community level: community land trust, community CLTs. We have a community land trust in East New York. And this is where the community, just like they give these billionaire, millionaire white developers city-owned land for $1, Dhoruba, for $1. And sometimes 10 million, 20 million. This is land worth hundreds of millions. Give it to the community land trust so that this group of community was looking at more of a collective, cooperative means of moving forward, that they would own the land, they would build the housing, and they would build the supermarkets and things that go along with community land trust. The second thing is worker cooperatives. We need to change the structure, the ideology, the idea of how you do enterprises, how you do businesses. And this sister got a good book. You heard of a Collective Courage. It's a good book where she lays out on how instead of Black capitalism, You have worker cooperatives where the workers own the enterprise and the community is on the board and all of that stuff. So the community and the workers own these enterprises. We need to move ahead on those kinds of things in our very local communities. And then we need to say the local community, is going to turn the policing policies. It's going to determine, how we're going to deal with safety. Dhoruba, they bring in to Queens. They bring in a cop city to Queens, and the mayor, Cop Adams, is bringing Cop City to Queens, New York, and they all this millions of and like the piece in Atlanta. You know how much affordable housing you can build on that land, and deal with people. But they have this idea that crime can be stopped by more police, tougher sentencing. Eric Adams brought back the street crime unit of the most vile, racist mayor in the history of New York City, Giuliani. He brought back Giuliani's street crime unit that's busting 95% of our people for minor stuff. Eric did that.
And they call him the hip hop cop. They the ones that, the hip hop mayor. They the ones who think that he was somebody that was coming as a savior. And when in reality, like you said, he comes back, he's like a remix Giuliani, Yeah,
look, let me tell you something. I'm not down with no FBI dealing with anybody, but he's a bad actor. But we got to be aware of the FBI because they also go after good actors like Dhoruba and like Paul Robeson, like the Panther 21. So don't get too happy with the FBI doing him. We need to do him in politically. Because more corrupt than anything else. I don't even deal with his corruption. That's, but I don't support the FBI and anything that they're doing. But he's a bad actor. He's no Paul Robeson. Damn sure ain't no Dhoruba, Ben Wahad. But the FBI will do the same thing to me and you that they're doing to him. So we shouldn't get too caught up in that.
It doesn't fulfill their role. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's a very good point. Because black folks will tend to rally around someone who seemingly is the victim of racial prejudice and injustice, when in fact this individual is a reactionary, and this individual does not represent our interests. Adams is a classic example of this. He got put into office by the Democratic political machine.
That's right.
They knew he was the cop when he first drove up. If you remember his history in the NYPD, he organized the Guardian Association because the police union was so racist and so reactionary. He even organized black cops in the transit authority, but for their own union. And what happened? They absorbed him, they co-opted him, and now he's the foremost advocate for the same union he organized against. So we need to understand that simply because the FBI, the state, goes after a so-called black leader or black elected official does not mean they're going after them on our behalf or for our interests. They're going after him on behalf of the interest of someone who can play that role better, that proxy role better. And we've had leaders like this all throughout. Look at Atlanta, how Atlanta evolved and became the so-called black Mecca of the South. Look at Atlanta today, after 3 or 4 black mayors. And and you got the hip hop. Who are the hip hop artists that we're talking about? Adams is the hip hop. It's black co-opted artists who felt that their fame and their name, you understand, should be attached to political reform.
KRS-One.
Yeah, KRS is one example. Your homeboy, your major homeboy, Killer Mike, who you used to roll with in Atlanta, is another. So now that all these Negroes
look at Fat Joe interviewing Hakeem Jeffries. Fat Joe and Hakeem.
Fat Joe, your Fat Joe, they trotted him out last night. I saw him somewhere after that.
They gave him a show. He got a show. He got a show interviewing Hakeem.
Wait. So for folks that don't know, Hakeem Jeffries, because a lot of people don't know, is the nephew of Dr. Leonard Jeffries. You know what I mean? So I got to always remind folks because they don't make that connection. And shout out to Dr. Jeffries. We've had him on the platform as well. But
I like to see their Kwanzaa dinner. I like to see the dialogue over when they're celebrating tequila or whatever.
You got an invitation. Hakeem sent it.
Look, Eric Adams is so bad, he couldn't even call Trump a fascist. You know, after they were calling Trump, he said Trump is not a fascist. But you know why he's doing it? Because Eric, I've known him for 40 years. Eric is always about Eric. That's
Wait,
number one.
Wasn't he one of your students, Brother Charles?
Well, see, I did fail. There's some failures I have to confess.
You got jokes, man. Why you do that to Charles, man?
See, this is what I'm telling y'all. Hey, and those of you who are viewing, these are my friends. I just want to keep reminding y'all that these are my comrades in struggle. But yeah, Eric used to be a mentor. When he got into mayor, they mad because I won't meet with him or nothing like that. And the reason why Cuomo wanted me to meet with him, you know, I disrupted Cuomo's State of the State address. When I was in when I was in the state assembly, first they said I had to wear a shirt and tie. I said, I don't wear shirt and tie. They said that's the decorum of the state assembly. You cannot take your seat without a shirt and tie. So I said, well, I'll be up there. I'll see you all on Thursday. And so the reporter said, well, why don't you want to wear a shirt and tie? I said, because I'm not a white man. I'm not a European. I'm an African. He said, you're an African? I said, yeah. He said, what country did you come from? I said, I don't know. You stole me and brought me here, so I have no idea. But I know I did come from Africa, and I'm not wearing a shirt and tie. They had this powerful speaker, security, a big meeting about are they going to let Barron in the state assembly without a shirt and tie? To show you how much that means to them, cultural imperialism, they wanted to bend me in that direction. I'm not doing it. By the time I got to that front, I said, y'all call the cops, do what you want. I'm taking my seat with the dress that I choose to wear. They sent out a press release. Barron is in compliance with some of the decorum, so therefore we're not going to make an issue over this. You're talking to the first man ever to enter the chambers of Albany with no tie around his neck and no ties to the system.
Is this after they took your citizenship or before? Because we know that's what got started. Dhoruba. We about to see. We got to get the whole. He ain't from it.
Hey, boy.
We got it now.
We got something else, man.
Listen, I didn't know that little vignette, Charles. See, every day you get the chart. I wasn't hip to that little vignette. And you know, one of the reasons why it's so funny is because if you know earlier I said being an American is not a statement of nationality. It's a state of mind. It's a condition of delusion. And it's so when they question Charles Barron's credentials as a citizen, it's because he wasn't delusional. Right. And they say, man, you ain't down with this delusion. There's something wrong with you. And it's the same way.
That was the problem. I spoke in a scholars class at Hunter College, and I was telling them that there's no such thing as an American, you know, culturally, ethnically. They just made that up. I said, those are Europeans that came, stole the land from the indigenous people, then stole us from Africa to develop the fundamental basis of capitalist system. Adam Smith wasn't no genius, you know, of a philosophy on capitalism. Look, if you steal land, so you got free property and free labor, you would be successful too. I mean, most of the money for businesses is on that. So, you know, when they started all of that, I said to the young lady, she said, I resent you telling me that I'm not an American. I said, no. We all American citizens, legal identity. I'm talking about ethnicity. I'm an American. I said, well, don't get upset. What was your daddy? He was Irish. And what was your mommy? She was Polish. So how do you hook up a Polish and an Irish and yield an American? It can't happen.
It's a condition of it's a mental condition. It's not a sign of citizenship. I mean, the word American comes from the name Amerigo Vespucci.
That's right.
An Italian explorer who sailed up and down the coast of the newly found continents of America. Crackers didn't even know that these continents were here in the first place. They was on some earth was flat.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? It was the Egyptians who 5,000 years before had charted the skies and could tell an idiot the way that the earth was round. But that's a whole nother story.
That's right.
But what was very interesting in what Charles was pointing out is that cultural imperialism has a white supremacist facade and to it. Thanksgiving is nothing but the colonizers thanking their God for surviving the winter. You see, and they survived this winter because the Native Americans, the indigenous people, helped them through the winter, told them what to eat, showed them how to survive the winter. Otherwise, they would have died. Now, of course, you know, I feel sad for those ancestors and the Native people who didn't kill these crackers when they first landed. Then we wouldn't be having this conversation now. Everything would have been different. But history is what it is. But it informs the present. It informs the present, and the cultural dimensions of white supremacy is used by many of the Black artists that we see now, that we celebrate today, who have come out and supported the Democratic Party. These artists have gotten their props and their fame off of the cultural identity of Black people and our culture and our adaptation to white supremacy, whether it's in music, whether it's in dance, or whatever. We are of country music. It comes from black culture. The rhythm and blues comes from the Black shout and call from the plantation, which goes back to Africa and when we were drumming and communicating. We need to understand who we are, where we are, and therefore what Charles was talking about, going into this forum, you understand, that required the costume of power that white folks said was the costume of power. The same thing with cops in blue costumes. They're wearing blue costumes, and some of these are the most racist, reactionary dogs and cowards imaginable. They got blue costumes of authority, so we talk about them with deference and respect. When the Chinese finally were admitted to the United Nations, they didn't come in with a shirt and tie. They came in wearing Mao jackets.
Exactly.
The same way.
Come on,
the same thing with the Indian. When India freed itself. British colonialism, they were wearing Nehru jackets. So when we were running around in the 60s wearing dashikis, look at how Jesse Jackson used to show up with an afro, a dashiki, and a medallion. Okay, look at how these Negroes adapted the flavor and the outer trappings of Black consciousness, but in fact they were neo-colonial stooges. They were enemies, Black enemies.
That's why we gotta combat this thing on so many different levels. We gotta tell our children the two biggest lies in America is that Columbus discovered America and that Lincoln freed the slaves, enslaved Africans. First of all, Columbus didn't discover anything but that he was lost, and many historians say he never set foot in America. He was in Hispaniola, which is now the Dominican Republic in Haiti. That's where he was, and he was a brutal colonial murderer, rapist.
That's right.
You know,
he wiped out the Carib.
That's right. The Taino and the Carib people. You cannot fundamentally discover a place where people already exist. I mean, that's just basic. And then secondly, Lincoln did not free any enslaved Africans. Lerone Bennett has a great book on that, Forced into Glory, where he talks about the fact that there were slave states and free states during the Civil War period. And so since they were losing to the South, Lincoln said, all of those enslaved African people in the southern states, you're free. Now, first of all, he couldn't free them because they already separated. Their president was Jefferson Davis, the the Confederacy.
He should have been hung at the end of the Civil War.
And then there was about 3 or 4 states that didn't leave the Union. And the Emancipation Proclamation said, but you could keep yours because you didn't leave the Union. So he never freed anybody. And we need to let our children and youth know those fundamental things.
I think the third biggest lie to your point, Brother Charles, is that that we are Black Americans or African Americans. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
The fact that we still walking around talking about African American and Black American and all that, like you said, like Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael would say, later for America. What's good for Africa? You understand what I'm saying? Right. That's where we are. We have to wrap, but I wanna touch on something real quick because we've been talking about, for folks who are just tuning in, we started at 7 a.m. We have a new time here at the Rise Up Morning Show, 7 a.m. EST. It's the international Rise Up Morning Show. Of course, we have our brothers and sisters over in various countries and time zones. They couldn't make it today. However, we will be back on track tomorrow at 7 a.m. Also, today is Wednesday, so there will be a couple platforms today. A couple shows this afternoon. At noon, you will have Professor Griff from Public Enemy. Of course, he has his show on the platform Arm the Masses, so make sure you tune in to what Griff has to say. And then at 1 o'clock, we have our U.S. Political Prisoner Show, which is hosted by our good brother Frank and his comrade, which these shows take place every Wednesday. We're trying to draft Brother Charles on here and whatnot. We have a few new shows coming up. We have that we'll be tapping into. But before we go, again, we've been talking about what's been going on as far as this U.S. election. Now, one of the things that is vital and that is important that we talk about, of course, we've been talking about the genocide over in Israel. We've been talking about the genocide in Sudan, in the Congo, so on and so forth. But I want to ask you all, because, and I blurted out a little while ago because you were talking about entertainers. I just saw your favorite boxer, Mayweather, meeting with Netanyahu, talking about giving him, I think they said they gave 1,000 bulletproof vests or 100 bulletproof vests, some crazy shit like that. I want to ask you all right now, with Trump taking his seat again in office, how is this looking for the situation, particularly in Israel? Because we know that, they've kissed the ring, and this is, it's one of their biggest allies and supporters. I want to know, what are your thoughts on what this looks like in coming months between Trump being elected or selected here and the state of Israel and the other spots I mentioned, Sudan, etc.
Well, if I could jump on that real quick, I'll let Charles comment. First of all, the U.S. support and military support for the European settler state of Israel is a failed project. That's the last European settler state in Western history is Israel. Okay, on Palestinian lands. The Palestinian people have resisted, still resist, and Israel is a failed project. The United States knows that. Israel is done. The idea and the notion that Zionism equals Judaism has been shattered. Israel is a pariah, is a pariah nation. It's lost this war. And the U.S. also has backed Ukraine, these fascists and reactionaries in the Ukraine. The Ukrainian war is lost as well. It's just a matter of time. I think the Ukraine is going to give up the ghost probably by the end of the winter. So the U.S. major military foray.
You muted, Dhoruba. Your mic muted. Yeah, Dhoruba is on mute right now. You're still muted. It's something. I don't know if you hit the mic by mistake, but
I think this is the first time anybody could quiet Dhoruba. He had to do it himself.
You hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now, brother.
To cut to the chase, I know we haven't got much time. Both the Ukrainian move, the United States putting NATO up to the borders of Russia is in failure mode. The Ukrainians are losing over 13,000 soldiers a day. They can't sustain that. So they lost this war. And people need to understand that all of this money, the billions of dollars that go to the Ukraine or that goes to the European settler state of Israel, this money does not leave the United States. This money is paid to the military contractors, the ones who make the Predator drones, the one who make the artillery shells, Boeing, and these companies. They're the ones that actually get the money. So the money never leaves the U.S. That's why the U.S. economy is based on war. The U.S. has the largest military budget of the largest 5 nations on the planet combined. NATO is an arm of the U.S. military. When we look at certain places, we see that, like South Korea, for instance, the military in South Korea is under the direct command and control of the Pentagon. And so we need to understand that the U.S. empire is coming apart at the seams, not because the U.S. has a military presence in every country, everywhere, and is controlling every government, but because it rules by proxies. And these proxies have an interest in maintaining their power. This is why we see in Mozambique, that once had Frelimo as one of the leading anti-colonizing armed struggles in the world, is now one of the most reactionary governments in Africa. We see that the ANC that had Mandela and got Mandela out of jail and has won all of these elections, only won 40% of the electorate in South Africa in the last election. And who did they pick for their allies? They picked the former settlers. They picked the former settlers as their major allies so they could form a government. So we need to understand that the empire is unraveling at the seams, and the U.S. is desperate to maintain this empire. And the way it's manifest this desperation is by allying itself with regimes and political classes who want to survive and want to continue to exploit their people. And finally, like right here in Ghana, where I reside, it has hundreds of kilometers of border with Burkina Faso, which has removed itself from ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West Africa, which is an instrument of European hegemonic control and economic control. It removed the stuff of that. But what we need to understand is that Ghana has a military is building a drone base in northern Ghana. Once the U.S. was run out of Burkina Faso and Niger, they're building their drone base in Ghana. And we have Black businessmen and Black folks coming to Ghana in the day of return. Rick Ross, all of them were here meeting with the same government that authorized the military alliance with the U.S. and the Mossad. The Ghanaian intelligence has Mossad, Israeli intelligence experts inside of it. The United States is not only building a drone base, they own half of the international airport, Kotoka Airport, in Ghana, and they're bringing in their soldiers and all of these things. They don't even need a passport. Any soldier that's stationed in Ghana can kill a Ghanaian in broad daylight in the middle of the Dankwa Circle and not face charges. This is the nature of military alliances. The war in the Sudan, the civil war in the Sudan, the largest humanitarian crisis right now on our plate, bar none, including the genocide in West Africa, is financed by the UAE, United Arab Emirates, the UAW, and these Arab regimes in Egypt. They're the major suppliers of weapons to the RDF, the Rapid Deployment Forces, who used to be the old Janjaweed. The same ones that were slaughtering Africans. Sudan was split in two because of the struggle. We need to understand that the empire that we are in the middle of, that we are living in the belly of, is in crisis. And this crisis is being transformed in the United States in terms of the police state, the arming of the police state, the consolidation of the police state. The IDF works with all of these police unions. The IDF is in training mode at these cop cities. We need to understand this connection. And those people, those so-called Black reparationists and Black professors of Black history who tell you we don't have no interest in what's happening in West Africa, they're mistaken. Okay? In West Asia, they're mistaken. And this mistake can cost us. We need to understand that the empire is unraveling, and that the strength that we build inside the empire as an independent, anti-colonial, anti-imperialist force that empowers us on a local level changes the paradigm of how the U.S. policies can be carried out in Washington, D.C. Okay,
That's right.
We know that whether Trump or Kamala Harris were elected to office, the U.S. support for Zionism wasn't going to change. The U.S. support for intervention in Africa wasn't going to change. It might have had a different face to it, a little cosmetic dressings here and there, but it wasn't going to change. And by the grace of Allah, we got a buffoon in office who's only concerned about himself and his image, and Allah is going to call him back real soon. And so we need to understand that this buffoon is to our benefit. It's to our benefit that the empire has an idiot at its head. It's going to make bad decisions.
Let me say this about, and I'm glad you keep bringing up the term empire, because we got to understand that all great empires rise and fall. They rise with military power and economic power, but the Ottoman Empire rose and fell. The British Empire. Remember they said the sun never set on the British Empire. Now it's a little cloudy mud cloud in Europe talking about Brexit, trying to get out of that stuff. And then they had the Russian Empire. They rose and they fell. And the American Empire now is rising and is falling all over the world. The Roman Empire rose and fell. And these were powerful empires where you would say, oh, are you kidding? You can't beat capitalism. You can't beat imperialism. You can't beat the military might of America. What war did America win? They didn't beat the Vietnamese. They didn't beat the Koreans. Nobody. They didn't win any wars. They didn't win in Iraq. They didn't
win in Afghanistan after 20 years.
Afghanistan,
and almost $1 trillion.
They have never, ever won any real wars. You know, some of us supported Barack Obama the first time. So, oh, black president, give the brother a chance. After that, no more sellouts for us. This man, speaking of Israel, directly to your question, Israel usually gets 3.2, 3.3 billion in arms deals every year from America. Barack Obama, before he left, and y'all can look this up, don't take my word for it.
Increased it.
Before he left, $38 billion 10-year arms deal with Israel. Barack Obama, the only president in the history of America to do a deal like that, was Barack Obama. Barack Obama and his Hillary Clinton, they killed Muammar Gaddafi, an African leader, murdered him. And now they're crying because they're afraid of ISIL and Al-Qaeda.
Well, they created ISIL and Al-Qaeda.
They created them. They created them. So all of this is happening. And all throughout, and I thank God for the Black Panther Party, you know, for my ideological development, because this is what we need to really get into for the 21st century more deeply, is ideological development. Any movement without an ideology and a vision is like flying a plane without radar. You won't know where the hell you're going. So we got to make sure that we develop ideologically. And that's just the ideas and philosophies that control your practice. And then while we're practicing and implementing this ideology, we can continue to have it evolve and develop. So this is the greatest time to be alive. You're going to see some changes that's going to blow your mind once we really get it together and unmask the cultural imperialism, the colonial capitalism. And you know why we got to watch out for fighting too much against racism? We got to do it because racism is the ideology of a colonial capitalist system. But the challenge is when you start fighting against racism, even racists speak out against racism. And then they think you're talking about inclusion. This is racist. We don't have any black president. So they gave you Barack. No system changes, just symbolic changes. No system changes. Oh, this is racism. All these white police are beating us up. Now black police are beating us up. Oh, this is racism. We don't have no CEOs, black CEOs on Wall Street. Now we got black CEOs exploiting us. So make sure that you will not hear hardly any elected official speaking out against colonialism, capitalism, and imperialism. They won't do it. They'll all talk about racism. And remember, power is the great equalizer. When you have power, others, racism becomes irrelevant. The Black Panther Party in its first edict, point number 1, we want the power to control the destiny of our black and oppressed communities, meaning every institution in our communities that impact and govern our lives, we have to control, and including the police, the education system, the healthcare delivery system. And you can only do this by getting power. I was able to get some of the schools in our district, meeting with the superintendent. They said, okay, I'm going to turn this into a community school. Was able to get new libraries coming into the neighborhood, built from the ground up. I sat on a committee when they was talking about building new schools. After the first 2-3 meetings, I said, what the hell is going on here? It's not a new school you're building in the black community. 3 weeks later, I had schools being built in East New York because I was on that committee that had the power. And by the way, it's not their money. They're not doing me any favors. That's our taxpaying dollars. You know, you're not, you don't take my money. See, it ain't hip to say, look, I'm gonna do for self. Then damn it, don't give them your money. Don't pay your taxes. Don't give them your taxpaying dollars and say, you don't have to give me nothing back. I'm gonna do for self. I'm for doing for self. I'm for self-determination. I'm for independence, whatever you want, however you want to do it. But don't let the system get away with taking all that money from you and you demand nothing back. I don't want my dollars going to Israel. I don't want my dollars going to Africa to continue the economic and political colonization of Africa. I don't want my money going there. And look at, how do you have a $6 to $7 trillion national budget? Where the hell did they get a $31 trillion debt from? That means you borrowed money. You spent $31 trillion on what? Sure wasn't in our neighborhoods. And then we have to pay that debt back. So my thing is that I want to determine how my money is being spent. And as Dhoruba said, I want it spent on the neighborhoods, the movements, the organizations that are going to bring about radical systemic change. Even Dr. Martin Luther King was a revolutionary at the end. They tried to freeze him in history. I have a dream. Well, he had a radical vision toward the end and said, perhaps
Poor People's Campaign, that's right.
Into a burning house. And that burning house was colonial capitalism. Rise up, Black people. This is the greatest time to be alive.
Well, check this out, brothers. You know what I'm saying? As much as we love it, we'll be here till the sun go down and come back up. Definitely appreciate you brothers coming on. I had to put this on the screen. My brother Cimarron, shout out to Cimarron in Durham, North Carolina, one of our close comrades. Matter of fact, he brought you out there some years ago, Dhoruba, our brother Cimarron to Durham. I agree with what he said right there. He said he had to pull over. This is a master class, and this needs to be a program every Wednesday. So I'm putting both of y'all on the spot. We need a political program just like what we're doing right here. I don't know what day we can do it, but if we could do it Wednesday, that'd be great. We need to come on and talk about and make clarity. So I'm hoping that you all can come back, because I know in a week a lot will change. So we'll say that this time next week, 7 a.m. EST next Wednesday, if you all can come back and join us and we can do an update on this. But I'm hoping, and this is an excellent idea, I'm hoping that you brothers can get together with us. If it's a Wednesday, that's great, but we really need this critical political action right now, because it's practical. It's not just talking about what we should do, what we need to do, right. Up with hope, down with hope. We had a few people in the chat that we had to block because they was on some dumb white supremacist bullshit. So I'm just going to say that. If you come to what it is we're doing over here, just for the people in the chat, when you come to Black Power Media Reloaded, either you come to learn or you come to earn. You know what I'm saying? If not, you get dropped. We won't have time for all the lollygag and the BS. The preacher man used to say it's getting late in the evening. Right now, it's too critical for us to be fucking around. Pardon my English. But it is absolutely too critical for us to be fucking around. It is. We're not slowing down. Dhoruba just mentioned he's 80 years old. Charles mentioned he's 74. I'm about to be 54. You understand what I'm saying? We have generations under us, and it is absolutely imperative. It is imperative that we take this thing to another level, because you know we're not here for entertainment. This is not an entertainment program. This is not for entertainment purposes. You have the wrong platform. You know, so just be clear that we are here because we love our people, and we want to survive. As Kwame Ture, I quote him again, say, "We will survive America." We must survive America because of the fact that we've been here too damn long. I appreciate you brothers coming on. I also want to say, if you're in the Philly area this week, Dhoruba will be in Philly. A dear sister, comrade, Mama Pam Africa will be having an event for Dhoruba out there. We're doing a fundraiser for his medical. So hopefully we will see you all in Philadelphia. Here's the flyer for this. We'll see you in Philadelphia this Saturday. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, you're in New York, Jersey, or anywhere near Philly, make sure you stop through and check out Dhoruba in person. Again, Brother Charles, Dhoruba, this has been a powerful piece, and I'm grateful for you all joining us. Usually the show go 2 hours. I think we went 3 today, 2.5, close to it. And it didn't seem like it was that long, but definitely appreciate you all. Any closing words?
Let people, you can check Inez and
I just want to say, that
we on WBAI, and our program is called Speaking Truth to Power. So it's on WBAI.org. It's streamed. Speaking Truth to Power every Friday from 5 to 6.
No doubt. Definitely check you out.
And Charles pointed that out very succinctly. We want people, we want individuals, we want activists who represent militantly and on a revolutionary level the abolishment of white supremacy, but also the putting in place of class struggle. We need to understand that Black faces in high places do not equal power. And it's the ideology that guides us. But like Charles pointed out, without an ideology, without understanding who's on our side of the barricades, we're like flying a plane with no controls. And I just want to end with this by saying Netanyahu, this piece of dog doo-doo, was once in Brooklyn. He was once a student of Maya Kahani in the Jewish Defense League in Brooklyn they rose up against when they rose up in support of the UFT. And the UFT was in opposition to the Ocean Hill-Brownsville experiment of community control of public education. So we need to understand that Netanyahu got his wings under a racist Zionist Maya Kahani right here in Brooklyn. So it's no coincidence that he speaks English with an American accent. We need to understand there's almost 10,000 or 7,000 Americans, so-called American citizens, in the IDF right now as we speak, because Israel and the U.S. has dual citizenship. These are American citizens who are fighting and killing Palestinians. So if they could have solidarity with white supremacy in the European settler state of Israel, we could have solidarity with the Palestinians. And we need to understand, let the Palestinians know that we are not down with manufacturing the war, weapons of mass destruction to rain down on oppressed people. So I just want to say that. Shout out to Yahya Sinwar. Live like him, fight like him, die like him. Power to the people. And thank you, Kalanji, for having my comrade on and giving me the opportunity to pontificate on behalf of the people. So thank you.
No doubt. And shout out to...
I'll just close it with one line. They used to tell us in the 60s, America, love it or leave it. And we used to say, America, change it or lose it.
No doubt, no doubt. I want to shout out our sister, Mama Pam Africa, who's checking us out, as you see on the screen.
Yeah.
It's an excellent program again. Shout out to my man, Raza Khan, you know what I'm saying? Because I know Raza Khan is somewhere in the background, you know what I'm saying? And I want to give a special shout out to Raza Khan, because one thing about Raza Khan, no matter where we at, he going to make sure that the medicine is good. And I'm just leaving it at that. Anyway, you're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. This is Black Power Media. Make sure y'all tune in.
You hopeless, Kalanji.
Hey man, hey look here, man. If it ain't rough, it ain't me, bro. This is how we do it.
Listen, man.
Hopeless like a penny with a hole in it. It's all good. Listen, man, love y'all, brothers. Y'all stay tuned, and we will see you in the whirlwind. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. If you just tuning in, make sure you rewind. It's necessary. That was our brother Charles Barron and Dhoruba Ben Wahad. We start the show now at 7 a.m. Eastern, so make sure that you tap in and check us out and stay on the right side of things. Again, it's the Rise Up Morning Show, Black Power Media. Do us a favor and share this, because we know that a lot of people's talking about what's going on, what happened. A lot of people are going to be upset, you know what I'm saying, and thinking that it's a hopeless situation. We've offered some solutions here today. Shout out to the chat. There's a new name for the chat. We call them the Uprisers. Shout out for the Uprisers, because we're going to uprise Shout out to all the positive people out there who's been supporting the work that we've been doing. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share our platform because it's necessary. And if you find it in your heart, soul, there's a ticker at the bottom. Make sure that you put something on it. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you support our Patreon. We have a lot of new shows coming up. We have a lot of new programs coming up. Our magazine, Afro Pick, will be out this week, our 3rd issue. So make sure you tune into that. Again, love, support, revolutionary love, stand on the right side of the barricade. Until next time, rise up. Peace.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares. Mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. Like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.